I'll let you guys ask some questions, but let me just start by saying, their trade deadline come and gone, and feel good with what we did, adding Kristaps for sure, adding a second round pick, doing some stuff for this summer, looking ahead to that, some things that'll help us. But most importantly, I want to thank the guys that we traded, Buddy, JK, Trace. They all contributed to our franchise in a positive way, and we wish those guys well. And we're sorry to see them go, but we're excited about our addition here. So looking forward to getting KP in the mix and moving forward.
You mentioned right there doing stuff that better preps you for the summer. How would you say this deadline sets you up for the summer?
I mean, it's slight. That wasn't the main intention of the deal. We love the player Kristaps, so we think he can help us with some of the stuff on court. His rim protection, his ability to score, get fouled, take care of the ball, all things that we're looking to improve, particularly after losing Jimmy. So that was the main thing. But I think just adding a second round pick for us, knowing the financials on that, what that means this summer, and in free agency with what we're able to do with a second round pick, just some other slight little things. But again, not the main meat and potatoes of what we're trying to get done.
How confident are you that Kristaps Porzingis can stay healthy? He's only played in very few games the last few years. Just how much of a factor was that when you made this decision?
Yeah, I mean, we feel good about it. We looked into it pretty in depth, and we believe in our medical staff. There's no guarantees, there's no certainty, but with kind of where he's at right now, where he's been, we feel good about it. And on the other end of it, in terms of like what we're sending out, we're sending out, a player in a similar boat who struggled to stay on the floor. So I think from our standpoint, like we recognize the risk medically, but it's a risk we're willing to take.
Have you spoken to Rick about how that first workout went this morning?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay.
It's good.
Good.
Yeah, it's good. Oh, well, it's good.
Awesome.
You got one roster spot left for the buyout market. How are you sort of viewing that roster spot right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think we like the flexibility. I think an underappreciated thing in this league is roster spots or availability of those. And so, we're at 14. We converted Pat, which we're really excited about. That was certainly a thing at the deadline we wanted to be mindful of to free up a spot to do that. So we have, and we've got one more to play with. And I think from my end, just kind of take a look at things, see over the coming weeks with needs we have, health-wise, what we're looking at. That'll all play into what we may do. We'll scour the buyout market and see what's available.
You had a high-profile pursuit where you were putting your first-round picks on the table for. Would you say you were willing, or what was the threshold to pivot off that and use your first-round picks otherwise in trades you were talking about?
I mean, I feel like I answer this every trade cycle. We're willing to do whatever it takes to improve this team, whether it's young players, first-round picks. We always have been. We always will be, as long as we're into this win-now window, which, was pointed out to me today. Over the last calendar year, we have the fourth best record in the NBA, since Jimmy got traded to when he got hurt. So despite the idea that we're not in the mix, we're fading, all this stuff, the reality is up until Jimmy got hurt, we were pretty good. And I think we're trending in the right direction. Now we've had to pivot a little bit. I think adding Kristaps can help, but this group is kind of what it is.
How did that high-profile pursuit that Anthony just mentioned, how did that affect the possibility of making other trades?
I don't think it did. I mean, because we ended up making a move here to get Kristaps, and so for that reason, like I guess it didn't really affect anything.
Mike, obviously Draymond's been pretty open about the fact that at least he knew his name was in conversations. Do you think his relationship with the organization has changed at all because of the fact that he realizes for the first time he's not an untouchable here?
Yeah, I mean, I'd walk that back a little bit. His name was not in conversations, other than the ones where teams call me and ask about him, which they do every year. So nothing's new there. I mean, the idea that he stayed with the Warriors past the deadline was greatly exaggerated. It was never a possibility of him not being here, or remotely close, to be honest. And I've conveyed that to him. I think he knows that. But when stuff comes up in the media, I think it feels different for the players. And I think that's the first time it happened for Draymond. So he's dealing with it in a certain way. But the reality is nothing was close and nothing was considered. And Draymond was not being shopped or talked about in deals. So it's a little bit misleading. And, we're kind of picking up the pieces here. But I think he's in a great spot. And so are we moving forward.
You said nothing was close regarding Draymond. I assume nothing was close in your pursuit of Giannis. What would give you
Wait, why is that?
Because he would have to be in the deal,
No, he
or
wouldn't.
Jimmy.
Okay, well, you're putting words in my mouth. So that's an unbelievable assumption.
So was Jimmy then on the table?
No. We're not doing that. I'm not going on the roster talking about who's in trades and who's not. We don't do that.
How might your package for a star level talent compare in the summer to what it was at this deadline?
I mean, we've got the goods to make deals. I mean, I think the only way we wouldn't be in the mix is if we gave out assets, young players, all the things you need to get a great player. We still have all that. I think that's one of the reasons, the KP trade's really good for us, similar to Jimmy last year. We don't feel like we gave up a ton. And so we still have the, kind of the firepower to move forward and do more deals. And that's what we like about it.
What, obviously you won't have Jimmy the rest of this season. What do you still think this team can accomplish? What are the internal expectations for this team? Yeah,
I'm interested to see how it goes. I think this addition for us could be really good, similar to the addition to Jimmy, the way he gave us a boost. I think this is similar. Maybe not to that level. We certainly took off, but I'd say I'm not sure on our expectations just because, we got to get healthy. Steph's been out. We got to get him back and we got to get some things right. But, I'm anxious and interested. I don't really have expectations because it's kind of an unknown for us. And in some ways, I think it'll be kind of fun, but I know we'll be really competitive. I know we'll fight and we'll see where the chips fall.
Mike on Steph, there's always a concern when he has any kind of anything. Is there any more of a concern for you guys because the injury has lingered a little bit more?
I mean, look, anytime Steph's missing games or injured, I'm always concerned. But I don't think this is anything different. We feel comfortable that he's going to be okay. But no, I hate it when he misses games. And definitely, there's always a level of concern.
Steph obviously hasn't slowed down. He's still playing at an incredible level. How long do you anticipate him to be able to be playing at that level?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, probably would have guessed wrong, right? If you would have said he'd still be doing what he's doing now. So I don't want to put a ceiling on it. This guy does everything under the sun to, push his longevity out. Unbelievably committed to the game. And I don't want to put a ceiling on the guy. So as long as he's still really good, we're going to keep being in this boat of trying to have a good team, continuing to get better. And, it's a fun pursuit.
Kristaps is obviously on an expiring contract. How much of a priority was it in this trade market to I guess keep your books clean long term? And then how do you view his future?
Yeah, I mean, I think keeping the books clean is a factor, but at the same time, if a really good player came about that, extended out contract wise that we really liked, we would have done that. So I don't want to cap it off and say we wouldn't have. And then I think there's a pathway to bring him back next year. We're hopeful for to have his bird rights and things like that. So, I think we've got options on the table and, feel good with what can unfold.
Has there been any conversation with Steve up to this point about his future, or is it still just very fluid?
Yeah, no, I think at the beginning of the season, it was left at that by Steve that, take the year and see how it goes. And I think, Steve's doing a terrific job as always. And, we'll address that as the season winds down.
I know you said nothing was ever even close with Draymond, but how did you think how he reacted to hearing what was in the media?
Like, I get it, because there's so much stuff out there, way more than when I played. These rumors and things, there's so many ways you hear it. So I understand it, but I feel bad for these guys right now with what they have to go through for this particular week. I mean, look, overall, their lives are great. They're playing basketball. They're getting paid to do it, but this is a tough period for players, tougher than it's ever been. So for me, it's a little bit helpless because I'm not in a position to say, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Like, I just don't feel right doing that. So because of it, they got to kind of just deal with it. And when everything's done, you can kind of clean some stuff up and go through with guys. But it's definitely a tough time for us all. But Draymond's an open book. He's great. He shared how he's feeling. But it was all for naught.
How do you look back on Kuminga's 5 years with y'all and why it didn't necessarily work the way everybody wanted it to?
Yeah, I mean, I think Steve kind of said some stuff at, his availability recently about it after JK was traded. I think he said some really good things, and I'll leave it at that. We appreciate JK's contributions. I think a good effort was made on both sides. Just it just didn't work out. Wish him well. I think he'll do a nice job in Atlanta
this summer. How much of a priority could be getting out of the tax, given the type of team building tools that come with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're always mindful of it, but at the same time, our owner, Joe Lacob's got a willingness to spend and compete and win. So it just always feels weird and tough to try and duck the tax. But there are some team building factors that come into play that may be worth it. We haven't really gone down that road, but we'll always look at it. And I'd say, sure, it's a possibility, but, our chips are all in on winning, and usually that comes with spending.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. We'll have those thoughts in